It is my pleasure now to introduce our next speaker, Rauf Jan, Senior Manager at Ernst & Young in Toronto. Rauf is a Senior Manager in Assurance Services of Ernst & Young in Toronto in their financial services practice. Previously, he works with PricewaterhouseCoopers and Collins Barrow in Toronto. Rauf is a member of CPA Ontario and Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan. Rauf is also a member of Management Committee of ICAP and CPA Ontario Volunteer Team. So we're going to hear firsthand what has been Rauf's experience in landing his first job.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Hi, everyone. Good morning for people who are in Eastern Standard Time, and good afternoon and good evening to all the other people. My name is Rauf Jan, and I'm working at EY in Toronto. I came to Canada 3 years ago, and I've been working with on different projects with Carmen and CPA Ontario Volunteer Team. I've been told to present my case or tell you guys how do I came to Canada and what difficulties do you face when you come to Canada for the first time. I moved to Canada 3 years ago, and I came to Canada, and the first few months would have been difficult, as Carmen and Diane was talking about, that you come to Canada, you have to get all the documentations verified, you start looking for the job, you start looking for all the networks, you start talking to people. It took me 3 months to land my first job in Canada, and it was with Collins Barrow Toronto. Before moving to Canada, I worked in PricewaterhouseCoopers in Pakistan, Oman, and Bahamas. And I've always worked in one of the big four firms. When I moved to Canada, I applied to the big four firms, and because I didn't have local experience, it was difficult to get or land a job in one of those companies. So I started applying for the jobs in a mid-tier firms. It took me some time because hiring process itself takes a month to 45 days. They do the background check and all these things. And when you come to Canada, you have to learn a little bit about demographics, what is the culture, update the resume, because when you come to Canada, your resume is based on whatever you have been presenting in the past in different companies, in different countries. And some of the information which I had on my resume, which I laugh now, is my age, my sex, whether I'm married or not. And these are the things which we don't see, or which recruiters or employers don't want in their resume in Canada. So there are a few things which you have to adjust yourself to. After doing that, the first thing after landing my job, the first thing I did, or before even landing my job, the first thing which I did is I got my courses evaluated. I started in the process of doing my CPA. And they evaluated my courses, they evaluated my experience, and by I think within 3 months I knew that this is the path for me to appear in UFI. At that time it was UFI in September, so I had to pass this exam at this time in July, August. I had to pass this UFI exam in September. At that time there was only one UFI exam in September. I think it is the same thing now, they call it CFI, but it is the same thing. It took me 15 months just to pass the exam by the time I landed and did my CPA. Once I got my CPA done, then I tried again in the big four firm, because I thought that now I have the local qualification, I have Canadian experience, and I fulfill all the requirements. And it didn't take me a lot of time to get a job in at one of the big four firm. And I landed my first job in EY, in my first Canadian big four firm job in EY. I just wanted to share some of the information which, if I would have known before coming to Canada, I would have done some of the things which before even arriving to Canada. As Diane and Carmen rightly mentioned, all the information, like work on some of the software, some of the skills which are needed, work on some of the things like qualification, get your degrees evaluated and things like that. And I did the same thing. The first thing is we focus a lot on the professional things. I came with the family. I had a daughter at that time, and there are a few other things that you have to concern about, which you have to think about: schooling, daycare, how will you commute, what communication or what transportation models are available. So you have to understand all these things. Don't hesitate to contact your family and friends who are already living in Ontario. People are very helpful here, and you'll find that there are so many people, like everybody whom I meet has been so helpful, and people migrate to Canada a lot. So you'll get all of those help. Second thing is understanding the life in Canada. Life in Canada is a little bit different from what I used to be in Pakistan. The housing, accommodation, environment, weather is different. You have to understand. I landed in November, and within a month of my landing, there was a first ice storm. I've never seen snow before, and there was an ice storm. So you need to understand all these things. From the professional perspective, because Carmen and Diane both talked about the regulators, the professional bodies which you need to understand. There are few things, like other than accountants, you need to understand that who are the regulators within accountancy profession. If you are working on banks, you need to understand what OSFI requirements are. If you're working on risk management side, you need to understand COSO, Basel, and all these things. You need to understand what, like, sometimes the job titles are different. Like in Pakistan, we used to call it trade finance, what we call it clearing here, or vice versa. So you need to understand what are the different jargons are used for the same jobs. It will help you. You need to go through the guidelines as well. There are a few guidelines. Like when I came to Canada, I had to go through accounting standards for private enterprises because I was working in Collins Barrow, which deals with some of the smaller clients as well. So I had to go through, in addition to IFRS, I had to go through some of the local regulations as well. The good thing is, because this is a country of immigrants, you will find a lot of alumni from your work associations and previous employers. So you should, there are a lot of associations, like from Pakistan. There is a CA Pakistan Association, there is IBA, there is LUMS, there is Engineering Association. There are a lot of associations from different organizations from different countries. So I think you should find that and work on that. The other thing is find network of friends. We have social media available. You can contact all the people on Facebook, LinkedIn, and find networks, like find friends with common interest who can help you. You can have friends of friends who can introduce you. Technology, one of the biggest barrier in when I moved here is I was not used to of using all the technology which is available. So get familiarized with all these things. I'll quickly go through that because I think Carmen has covered all these things. Just make sure that if you have a 2-year undergrad program in from the country, like in Pakistan, we have 2-year undergrad program. Just make sure that what is the worth of that. Do you need to do some additional courses to be qualified undergrad here and things like that. And all the other things I think Carmen and Diane has covered in detail. Like you need to have understand, get some insights about the local qualification, try to work on the softwares which are being used here, try to work on the companies which have offices here so that people can familiarize you with that. With this, I think I've covered most of the things. You can reach out to me. You can search my name on LinkedIn and you will be able to find me. My name, as you see on screen, is Rauf Jan, and you can search me on LinkedIn. If you have any question, you can contact me there, or you can reach out to me through Carmen or Diane. I'll be happy to help you.